want to make sure I'm being clear. Brian, you're not saying, your unpopular opinion is not that the gun is not the best tool in a gunfight, right? I think you would say that if you're in a gunfight, the gun is the best tool. But
Yes, absolutely. And the bigger and the more guns you have, the better.
yes, more gun, more ammo, more awesome. But I think what you're saying is, if in total self-defense preparedness land, which is the daily attitude that each of us chooses to embark on, that the gun may not be the most important thing, most important tool in your toolbox.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking is like, what's the philosophy behind why we're doing what we're doing? Why are we learning how to defend ourselves? Like, what is our goal here? Is our goal just, are we just role playing here? Are we just putting on a gun because we think it's cool? Or are we putting on this gun for a particular reason? What is that reason? And do we have a logical reason for why we're carrying that gun? And I think if we're carrying that gun, that means we're trying to defend ourselves and our family. And we also need to think about, how can I do that better? And I think the best way you can do that is you start preparing for the most likely situation first and start working your way back towards less likely options. So I think if you're really trying to defend yourself or become a better defender, then maybe we should be paying attention to, this as a whole piece, as part of just one piece, which is the gunfighting.
Yeah, I agree, and I also kind of disagree a little bit. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
a little bit on the fence. Like, what I agree with is your overarching concept, which is more tools so that we can solve more problems appropriately. What I do disagree a little bit with is the idea that we should prioritize our preparedness based on probability, because I think that there's an argument for probability be danged. How about stakes? Like, instead of odds, stakes. So me needing a gun, probability is highly low, but in the situation where a gun would be needed, the stakes are very high. It's life and death. Where in a physical altercation, the stakes might be much lower, getting injured or something like that. So I do think that, I don't know if I'm totally on board with prioritize purely based on probability, but I think, more to your point, I think the main thing you're trying to communicate, which I'm 100% on board with, is if we think that by slapping a gun on, we're 100% good to go in the self-defense prep, check. That's extremely foolish, naive, and unwise. That being more prepared for more things is important. And I think too that you might be listening to this and maybe you are 78 years old. My parents are in that age range, and they're not going to go hit a gym and roll around and learn some grappling techniques. That's not going to happen. But they can get a certain degree of physical activity to do the best they can to maintain good physical strength and endurance within the confines of what they're able to do in their circumstances and age and whatever other restrictions they might have. That's still something they can do. And they still can choose to carry pepper spray. They can choose to be alert to practice good situational awareness. They can choose to take a class or get some skills relative to de-escalation, conflict resolution. They can choose to learn some medical skills and have access to medical gear, so that when these situations arise, they're not just limited to the gun being the only thing they got.
Uh-huh.
That's when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and that is tactically, ethically, and legally problematic. So I'm on board with your unpopular opinion that the gun may not be the number one priority, or at very least, definitely what I could get on board with is, if it's the only option you got, you're approaching this wrong.
Yeah, I love the idea of having pepper spray. I think that is an excellent way. I mean, even if you're coming across a dog, that's, being aggressive or that kind of thing, having that little option to be able to not have to draw your weapon is a huge peace of mind to me. I like having a weapon nearby that if I do need it, it's there. But ultimately, I'm going to try to take care of any problem that I have with verbal judo. I'm going to try to de-escalate the situation. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to get out of there if I can, because I don't care about fighting. I got a lot to lose. And so, like, if I'm going to try to get out of there, I will. And if I can't, or I need to use a little bit of force, an excellent way to do that is going to be pepper spray. And I think everybody should have that in conjunction with their firearm. Do you think that might be a good plan?
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of pepper spray. Absolutely. And I think that, a person might say, well, I prefer a taser, or I prefer, this kind of pepper spray or mace, or, I think that, like, my high overarching feeling is less lethal is critical. Having more tools, more options, more tools, more options, more options, more success.